The Battle of Grunwald, when Poland-Lithuania crushed the Teutonic Knights. Imagine if the most feared military order in medieval Europe, warriors who had conquered entire nations, were completely annihilated in a single afternoon by an enemy they considered beneath them. Welcome to ancient battlefield. Today we're diving into one of medieval history's most shocking upsets, where the unstoppable Teutonic Knights met their doom in the fields of Grunwald on July 15, 1410. For 2 centuries, the Teutonic Knights had been the terror of Eastern Europe. These German warrior monks, originally founded to fight in the Holy Land, had carved out their own crusader state in Prussia and the Baltic regions. They possessed the finest armor, the most advanced military technology, and an unshakable belief in their divine mission to convert or eliminate the pagan peoples of the north. But here's what's truly shocking. By 1410, they weren't fighting pagans anymore. The Grand Duchy of Lithuania had converted to Christianity, and Poland had been a Christian kingdom for centuries. Yet the Teutonic Knights continued their aggressive expansion, claiming they were still fighting holy wars while actually pursuing naked territorial conquest. King Jogaila of Poland and Grand Duke Vytautas of Lithuania had finally had enough. These 2 cousins, who had once been bitter enemies, forged an alliance that would shake medieval Europe to its core. What happened next will blow your mind. They assembled the largest army Eastern Europe had ever seen. The combined Polish-Lithuanian force numbered perhaps 39,000 warriors. But here's where it gets really interesting. This wasn't just a European army. Jogaila and Vytautas had called upon every ally they could find. Alongside Polish heavy cavalry and Lithuanian light horse came Czech mercenaries, Hungarian warriors, Russian princes, and even Mongol Tatar cavalry from the steppes. Can you imagine the sight? Knights in plate armor riding alongside steppe nomads with composite bows. Czech crossbowmen marching beside Lithuanian pagans who had only recently converted to Christianity. It was like a medieval United Nations, all united by one goal, crushing the Teutonic Knights once and for all. The Teutonic response was exactly what you'd expect from medieval Europe's most arrogant military order. Grandmaster Jungingen assembled 27,000 of the finest heavy cavalry in Europe, including not just Teutonic Knights, but also crusading volunteers from across the Holy Roman Empire. These weren't just professional soldiers, they were true believers convinced that God would deliver victory over the schismatic Poles and newly converted Lithuanians. The truth is even more incredible than the numbers suggest. The Teutonic Knights had never lost a major pitched battle in 2 centuries of warfare. They had destroyed pagan armies, defeated Polish forces, and conquered entire nations. In their minds, this would be just another glorious victory for the cross and the sword. The battle began with one of history's most famous acts of medieval psychological warfare. The Teutonic Knights sent 2 swords to Jogaila and Vytautas, not as gifts, but as insults. The message was clear. Here are swords, since you're apparently too cowardly to fight without better weapons. Jogaila's response became legendary. Instead of taking offense, he accepted the swords graciously and declared, "We shall use these swords to win a great victory today." But that's not the most amazing part. He was absolutely right. The initial Teutonic charge was everything you'd expect from medieval Europe's most elite heavy cavalry. Thousands of armored knights thundered across the battlefield, their lance points glittering like a steel forest, their war cries echoing across the fields. For a terrifying moment, it looked like the Teutonic Knights would achieve yet another crushing victory. Here's where it gets really interesting. Vytautas had positioned his Lithuanian light cavalry on the army's right wing, and when the Teutonic charge hit, they did something completely unexpected. They broke and fled, apparently in complete panic. The Teutonic Knights, scenting victory, pursued the fleeing Lithuanians deep into the forest. What the Teutonic Knights didn't realize was that they had just walked into the oldest trick in the steppe warfare playbook. The Lithuanian retreat was a feigned rout, a tactical deception that drew the cream of the Teutonic army away from the main battle just when they were needed most. While the Teutonic right wing was chasing phantoms through the woods, the real battle was being decided in the center. The Polish heavy cavalry, led by King Jogaila himself, crashed into the remaining Teutonic forces with devastating effect. But here's what's truly shocking about this moment. The Poles weren't fighting like medieval knights at all. Instead of the typical medieval melee where individual prowess mattered most, the Polish-Lithuanian army fought with disciplined unit cohesion that wouldn't have looked out of place in a Roman legion. They had learned from every defeat, studied Teutonic tactics, and developed countermeasures that turned the knights' own strengths against them. The turning point came when Grandmaster Jogaila himself was killed in the fighting. The sight of their leader's death banner being raised by Polish knights sent shockwaves through the Teutonic ranks. These were warriors who had believed themselves invincible, blessed by God, and destined for victory. Suddenly, they found themselves leaderless and surrounded. What happened next will blow your mind. The Lithuanian cavalry that had fled in panic came thundering back out of the forest, hitting the confused Teutonic forces from behind just as they were trying to reorganize. It was a perfect pincer movement executed with precision that would have impressed Alexander the Great. The slaughter that followed was unlike anything medieval Europe had seen. The Teutonic Knights, trapped between the returning Lithuanians and the advancing Poles, were systematically destroyed. Contemporary sources claim that over 18,000 Teutonic warriors died that day, including virtually the entire leadership of the order. Here's where it gets really interesting. This wasn't just a military defeat, it was a cultural earthquake. The Teutonic Knights had represented the idea that German military technology and organization were inherently superior to Slavic and Baltic barbarism. Grunwald shattered that myth forever. The truth is even more incredible when you consider the long-term consequences. The Teutonic Order never recovered from Grunwald. Their dream of creating a vast Baltic empire died in those muddy fields, and Poland-Lithuania emerged as one of Europe's great powers, eventually becoming the largest country on the continent. But that's not the most amazing part. The Battle of Grunwald proved that medieval warfare was changing. The age of the individual knight hero was ending, replaced by coordinated tactics, combined arms, and international cooperation. It was a preview of military revolutions to come. Can you imagine how different European history might have been if the Teutonic Knights had won at Grunwald? There might never have been a powerful Poland-Lithuania to stop Ottoman expansion or to serve as a buffer between Russia and Western Europe. The entire balance of medieval politics hung in the balance that July afternoon. The Battle of Grunwald, when Poland-Lithuania crushed the Teutonic Knights, remains one of history's most decisive victories, proving that even the mightiest military orders could fall when faced with superior strategy, international cooperation, and the unbreakable will of peoples fighting for their freedom. Today, as we watch smaller nations stand up to seemingly overwhelming opponents, we can draw inspiration from Jogaila and Vytautas, who proved that courage, clever tactics, and unexpected alliances can topple even the mightiest empires. What do you think was the most crucial factor in this incredible victory? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking upsets from ancient battlefields.